Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, gang? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. Connor Hrabchak will be jumping on with a bit of a preseason practice report, if you will. But we've got some Jet stuff to talk about today. We will hear from the captain, Adam Lowry, in just a few minutes, and the first media availability of Jonathan Toews as a Winnipeg Jet after, of course, outside of course, his introductory press conference. Lots of action down at the Hockey for All Center right now as training camp is just a week away. And we'll hear from both the captain of the Jets and the longtime captain of the Chicago Blackhawks and one of the newest members of the club, the returning hometown hero, Jonathan Toews. Ken Wiebe's down there. Wiebe will join us a little later on. We'll get his perspective after we hear from both Adam Lowry and Jonathan Toews. Brandon Rowicki's going to also jump on the program. And then a little later on, we'll get into some football. Big Thursday nighter tonight between the Packers and the Commanders at Lambeau Field. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton will be traveling tomorrow. So the Friday NFL Notebook is now going to be a Thursday NFL Notebook. And our pal Pat Gregoire from Coolbet is going to pop by. We're going to cook up something for this Thursday nighter tonight. And, of course, get ready for tomorrow, Friday morning. Don't forget, everybody, all NFL season long, live at 10 a.m. on Winnipeg Sports Talk, our WST Winners NFL Pick Show, where we'll go through all the games, our favorite plays against the spread, our favorite props, put together a couple fun parlays. It should be fun. So we got a very packed show today, so we will get right into it. Going to have Connor jump on in about 5 minutes to fill us in on the scene out at the Iceplex today, or the Hockey for All Center, I should say. But just before we do that, do want to thank the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day, and remind you all that it is so great to be working with our friends at the HSC Millionaire Lottery this year. Of course, the HSC Foundation does so much for Manitoba, and in addition to making somebody a millionaire, hscmillionaire.com is where we're going to find that. We'll give you more details of some of the amazing prizes a little later on. Of course, Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, our friends at Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend. We will get to a why not question of the day for Not Auto Corp, but Waverly and McGillivray. And looking forward to fan feedback from all of you after we hear from the captain and Jonathan Toews. And we'll do that for fansfirst.ca. Let's get Michael Remis in here. Remo, what's going on? Bombers heading out to Hamilton today for a big game tomorrow night. We got clarity yesterday on a number of things with the roster, including Zach Collaros officially out for tomorrow's game. Chris Streveler will start, but couple of changes, including Demerio Houston getting a bit of a run with the Bombers, finally getting in after being sitting around waiting to get a chance.
Yeah, I guess the Bombers, Trey Vaval did the experiment where he was playing corner and returning kicks, had a, big pass interference penalty. Demerio Houston, he's been working out time to put him in. And what bigger test us than Kenny Lawler going up against? And, Hamilton's passing game has been so good this year. If it's Lawler, Tim White's had big games. Keandre Smith has had big games. So nice to see Demerio Houston get in. I'm curious what he's going to be able to do. But to credit the Bombers' defense, it's been pretty good holding Trevor Harris, who had been awesome all year. So I'm curious, curious how it's going to look. And the Bombers' defense, they've been improving. And it wasn't the defense that sunk them in the last two games, Hessa. I think turnovers been a huge issue, and they're going to need Chris Streveler to protect the ball and not have any costly turnovers.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, again, we'll be all over this, and tomorrow on the program, we'll have Hammer tee this one up with Winnipeg and Hamilton going at it. 6 p.m. start tomorrow night in the Hammer for the Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now, we are going to talk a lot of puck over the first hour of the program because, of course, we did have Jonathan Toews and Adam Lowry meet the media, and we've got some Lowry clips coming up. But Remo, while you kind of monitor what's going on with the YouTube stream, why don't we bring Connor in and get some live reaction to the what we heard from the captain of the Jets and, of course, Jonathan Toews. I will say this. I think this preseason availability for both individuals would have to be right up there with the most anticipated preseason media scrums we've had in a long time. I mean, obviously, when Jonathan Toews came in and was introduced in the summer, that was as big a deal as we've had in the offseason. I mean, certainly when it comes to free agents, I mean, it is the signing of the 2.0 era. And we've been paying attention to Jonathan Toews being on the ice, but, want to see how he's feeling and, how things have been going as he looks to restart his career. Adam Lowry, a little different in that, he has been a mainstay of this club and the heart and soul of this team. And, of course, had hip surgery shortly after the playoffs. So, originally there were thoughts that this could, last well into the season, his rehab. But it is certainly nice to see Lowry out on. And, from what I'm seeing, and we'll hear from this in a few minutes, we'll get from Connor. He's looking at returning maybe sooner than some of the worst fears were, and obviously continues to grind away and will be, I think he referred to it as solitary confinement for the next while with the rest of his teammates. But Reem, if you can, let's bring Connor in here and get a quick check-in before we dive into a little bit of Lowry audio, and we will have Jonathan Toews as well coming up before we speak with Ken. Fresh off a trip down the street to the Hockey for All Center, Connor Hrabchak joins us now on the program. Connor, what's going on? How was what was the scene like? Probably seemed a little more like the regular season than a week out of training camp today at Hockey for All Center.
And I have to keep reminding myself that it's not training camp, Huss, because it has a training camp feel to it. We are a week away. It's Thursday, September 18th is the first on-ice session at training camp for the Winnipeg Jets. They're going to have off-ice fitness testing on the Wednesday. There will be media all through next week. But like you said, we heard from Adam Lowry today for the first time since his hip surgery. We heard from Jonathan Toews today for the first time since his introductory press conference. There's a lot of media, a lot of fans at Hockey for All Center. Definitely has a training camp feel to it, even though we're a week away.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, listen, I mean, our focus is really going to be on Lowry and Toews, but I know the prospects were, been hard at work these last few days getting ready to go wheels up to Montreal for games over the next couple days for this new tournament that the teams participating in. Normally was in Penticton before, now going out east of Montreal. Braden Yeager spoke yesterday. There's a lot of intrigue on a number of these young players that are set to officially make their move from juniors to the pros.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of those players are on that team. We also heard from Mark Morrison, who's going to be the head coach of that team as they head out to Montreal. Huss, get this. The Saturday night game against the Montreal Canadiens prospect team at the Bell Center is sold out. So Braden Yeager and Mark Morrison were kind of like wide-eyed about the opportunity ahead of them. And all of these players that are turning pro this year, they're going to get that atmosphere. They're going to get that pro feeling for a game in early September that it's just really at a prospect showdown. So we heard from Braden Yeager. He's got a great attitude heading into camp. When asked about, his goals and his expectations heading into training camp, first thing he said, I want to make the NHL. I know that the Jets are a really good team and the odds are kind of stacked against him to earn a spot right out of camp. But he's going in with the mindset he wants to earn an NHL job, and that's the mindset you want your young players to have. So I'm super excited to watch all these guys at the Prospect Showdown in Montreal in front of a sold-out crowd at the Bell Center. That's a great environment for them to be put in a relatively low-stakes game, just a random one-off tournament. But a lot of players turning pro, their first pro game in a way is going to be in front of 20,000 crazy fans at the Bell Center. Hey, listen,
there's no venue in the National Hockey League like the Bell Center. And even though this isn't even an NHL exhibition game, I think the excitement that Habs fans have for their team as they look to build off what they were able to accomplish last year. And they're a very smart, educated fan base. They'll know some of these players. And I mean, listen, for the Yeagers and the Barlows and whatnot, it'll feel like a big league game and a great opportunity for them to get going and hopefully put their best foot forward when they're going up competing for jobs next week here at the Hockey for All Center. Just before we get to Adam Lowry, I do want to plug some new content that now that we've got you on board full time, that will be coming out. I mean, we will, and this is, I mean, maybe we're getting ahead of it a little bit because this is not technically a practice report, but we will have additional game day content in short form, reels on Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, and I imagine a little bit later on, we'll have a bit of an update and kind of the first one from today's activities, because it sort of did feel like regular season business as usual with some important guys to talk about and everybody on the ice for the most part.
Yes, I'm super excited to have those WST practice reports really daily from the rink, whether it's the Hockey for All Center or the Canada Life Center. There was news today, so I'm going to report on it. And Adam Lowry, speaking to the media, said he's targeting a late October, early November return to the lineup. Said he's super happy, feels great, happy with how the surgery went, all of those things. But he doesn't want to get ahead of himself and come out in training camp in a full contact uniform and then suffer a setback. So he's taking things very slow with his rehab. And then Jonathan Toews spoke about a number of things, including being on a new team for the first time in his career, being with a new group for the first time in his career, because he alluded to the fact that when he was in Chicago, it was the same guys. It was Patrick Kane, Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, all that same core every single year. He knew what he was getting into every single camp, where this year he doesn't really know any of his teammates. So it's a whole new challenge for Jonathan Toews, who's knocking the rust off, getting back into game shape. Adam Lowry, some news on his injury as well and his recovery. So I'm going to have you covered WST practice report basically daily throughout the regular season, and I'm fired up to do that.
Great stuff, pal. Thanks for jumping on and being down there today. And in just a minute, we're going to get to Adam Lowry, and then I think we'll probably just run the full Jonathan Toews availability, because I think Jet fans are going to want to hear everything that the Hawks legend has to say about restarting his career with the Winnipeg Jets. Just before we get to Adam Lowry, we are so excited to be teaming up with the Health Sciences Center Foundation for the 2025 HSC Millionaire Lottery. The All-Canadian Hospital Lottery is back, and you can help save lives at Manitoba's hospital, the Health Sciences Center, and become a millionaire. You can win the All-Canadian Dream, a luxury home in Manitoba, or oceanfront in BC, or how does $1.25 million tax-free cash sound? Now, this is still in the early bird period, and the sooner you get the tickets, the better, because we've got a record-breaking number of prizes for early buyers with 32 early bird draws and 11 bonus draws, including a brand new Grey Cup bonus this year. And there's a fall bonus worth over $48,000 with 3 winners. The deadline for that is Thursday, September 25th. The grand prize, though, which is what everyone's hoping to get a piece of, one of 6 options, 5 $1.5 million packages, including dream homes, and then, of course, the $1.25 million tax-free cash for you to become Manitoba's newest millionaire. Folks, don't wait. If you're getting a ticket, do it now so you can get in on all the amazing early bird draws. Tickets are available online at hscmillionaire.com. You can also call toll-free 1-855-999-5688. Or if you want to buy them in person, pop by London Drugs at St. Vital Center, any of the Red River Co-op food stores in Winnipeg and Selkirk, and the Co-op Main Street Pharmacy. Again, hscmillionaire.com. Get those tickets. We all need the HSC, and the HSC needs you. And go to the website and check out the amazing Manitoba Made in Manitoba prizes as well. Hey, if you got a move planned, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer, would you? They've been the leaders in moving and storage in Winnipeg for over 60 years, family owned and operated, and the most trusted name in moving. You see their great website, rollies.com, with information on all of their business and what they can do for you. And in the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate and use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around real quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they've been famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. If it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, you might want to do something about that. Or maybe you and your family are looking for a long-term home at one of Winnipeg's leading dental centers that has been taking care of generations of Manitobans. And that place is St. Vital Dental Center. Our pal Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff would love to take care of you with everything from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all for customers from 6 months to 99 plus. And they do it all at a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with convenient free parking right behind the building. Hit them up online, stvitaldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in, and make sure you tell them your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And Remis might need a drink after today's show with the gremlins that have been giving us issues. Listen, if you are thinking about a drinking Canadian whiskey, you know what is the standard, the original Canadian club since 1858. And Bomber fans, right now at your local Manitoba liquor marts, the limited edition Blue Bomber bottle is available. The Bomber label Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, on shelves right now while supplies last. And listen, with some nice weather coming up over the next week and a half, still a great time to grab yourself a 12-pack of that Canadian Club Club Pack with the CC and Gingers, the Citrus Smash, the Half and Half, which has been the drink of the summer. Check out your local Manitoba liquor marts today for the Canadian Club Special Blue Bomber label and the CC Club Pack. All right, let's hear from Adam Lowry, the captain of the Winnipeg Jets, recovering from hip surgery. He met the media today down at the Hockey for All Center, and first things first, the captain was asked how he's feeling today.
Yeah, good. Super happy with how it's feeling, where it's at. Obviously a ways to go, but my job is to push myself every day, try and do the right things to make sure that when I get back I'm ready to go and feeling good. So it's just nice to be back on the ice. It feels like another milestone, another step closer to my return.
Do you have a target return date or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I think end of October, start of November 1st, something like that. With these things, it's tough. I feel really good. I feel like maybe I could go sooner, but at the end of the day, it's all about avoiding setbacks, making sure that when I do come back, it's for good. It's not one of those things that you constantly have to manage. So making sure I'm strong, making sure I'm in good shape, but I feel really good. I'm really happy with the outcome of the surgery, really happy with where the rehab's been. So it's nice to have a goal in mind, but those things can change. I think every day we'll just see how my body responds to more load, see how my body responds to different stressors, and kind of gauge it, and listen to the medical staff, listen to our strength coaches, and take it from there.
All right, so all systems go for Adam Lowry. Now, we haven't really heard from Lowry on how this all came about. Here's Lowry on what went into the decision to have the surgery right after the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a thing I've been managing for quite a while, and we would get imaging done generally at the start of the year, end of the year, see where it was, and I stopped getting relief from certain injections. It started becoming a chronic thing where, it was starting to, become painful just going downstairs. I'd feel it watching TV, and, it was starting to, kind of creep into my mind some days, on the ice, whether it's turning a certain way, whether it's pushing off, and then, the joint started to, kind of look a little worse. The tears started to get a little bigger. So, we got imaging and, saw that there was some changes to it. And, after consulting with Dr. Kelly in New York, we made the decision that, I think timing-wise, it made the most sense. It gave me the most opportunity to recover and recover fully, but with missing the least amount of games. I think, that was my biggest concern was, I was willing to continue managing it and play through it, but, we were worried about, you get into the end of October, November, and all of a sudden you have to operate. And now, instead of missing 10 to 15 games, you're missing 60 to 70 and potentially the playoffs. And that was the thing that we were ultimately trying to avoid.
Right now, speaking of the playoffs, pretty clear that Adam Lowry was dealing with quite a bit last season. Lowry was asked on just what was it like playing in the playoffs with what he was dealing with.
I think it's the playoffs. Everyone's willing to play through things. It's you're giving it your all. You're trying to do your best to win the Stanley Cup. Everyone has bumps and bruises and things that cause them discomfort. But it's certainly two real heavy series. I look at that series against St. Louis, and it was a war. It was real heavy. It took a toll on a lot of guys, and that's one of those things where going into the summer, coming into the start of the year, that's what we've got to be prepared for. Is it's going to be a battle to get into the playoffs, and once you're there, it ramps up to another level.
There's Adam Lowry on what he was dealing with through the playoffs, and I agree with him. I mean, that 7-game series against St. Louis was he described it as a war. I think he described it perfectly. And you wondered whoever was going to win that epic double overtime Game 7, what was going to be left in the next round. And certainly it took its toll on a number of players, and Adam Lowry was one of them. He's on the mend right now, looking to get back. Now, this is a surgery that, has been executed on a number of other NHLers. Lowry was asked if he kind of talked to any other of his colleagues around the league who've had that procedure before.
I've talked to a couple guys that have done it, and then, I've talked to trainers who've had their players, use Dr. Kelly, and, I was fortunate who I was rehabbing with in Calgary and just kind of managed a labral repair through Dr. Kelly. So, I feel like I was familiar with, what the process was going to look like, what the timelines look like, whether if you rush it back, you see kind of the impacts those have versus if you take your time, it's kind of managing the good days and the bad days and not getting too far ahead of yourself, because you don't want to take it and have a setback where this 5 to 6 month thing turns into 7 to 8. So I felt pretty comfortable with the information I had. Seeing a lot of the guys that he's operated on come back and have success and almost become better. They're moving freer and stuff. It kind of gave me some optimism for my own recovery.
All right, Adam Lowry, captain of the Winnipeg Jets. Now, probably the biggest challenge with him being on the ice is trying to get back too quickly. Lowry was asked about the need for patience during this extended rehab after surgery.
I would say I have a lot of patience, but, when it comes to training, when it comes to, my profession, my sport, that's, I think, where I lack the patience. I want to push myself in the gym every day. I want to feel like, I'm exerting myself to the max. I want to feel like I'm getting better. I want to feel like I'm getting something out of those sessions where, the first 8-12 weeks were very tedious. It was making sure that, I was doing the physio exercises, it was making sure I was doing the range of motion stuff, it was making sure I was staying on top of the recovery modalities. And, there was days where I wanted to add more tension, you want to add more weight, but, those are things where, you can't race time. You have to be patient. You have to learn to wait. And, there's times out on the ice now that, I've started skating with JP that, maybe I want to do some more, kind of explosive movements. I want to do some things. And, it's all about kind of staying within the guidelines, staying within, the doctor's orders, our medical staff. And, ultimately they have, it's the job to make sure that, I recover optimally, but within the time frame too. So there's some days where they're gonna kind of take the reins off and allow me to push, and then there's other days like today out on the ice where we kind of scale it back, and it's more of a active recovery day, and it's something I've had to get used to.
All right, well, certainly in good spirits, and nose to the grindstone, looking forward to getting back hopefully late October, early November for the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. Here's one more from Adam Lowry, and this isn't related to his surgery or his rehab, It's related to the guy that we're going to hear in a moment. Jonathan Toews, offseason signing for the Winnipeg Jets. Here's what Lowry had to say about having a guy in Jonathan Toews, 3 cup rings, all the accolades around the squad heading into the season.
Yeah, it's been great. Unfortunately, I've kind of been in solitary confinement on the other side of the ice, so I haven't had the opportunity to get to see him, out on the ice. But talking to him throughout the summer, and then getting to meet him for the first time here in the gym, and just getting to know him, it's been great. He brings a wealth of knowledge. He's got tremendous experience. There's a reason why he's as decorated as he is, and seeing how he prepares himself in the gym, seeing how he interacts with the guys, and he's fit right in. And I think there's an excitement for him to get back and competing, and the buzz in the city is something we'll certainly feed off. We're really excited to have a player of his caliber and stature in our organization.
All right, so smiles from the captain. Rehab going well. On track to hopefully come earlier than I think many of us thought. Now, we chopped up the best of Adam Lowry, but I know there is so much interest in Jonathan Toews joining the Winnipeg Jets. This is the first time he's really spoken publicly since the introductory press conference earlier in the summer. So instead of chopping it up, we're going to give you everything Jonathan Toews had for the assembled media today. This is Jonathan Toews from just the last hour or so out at the Hockey for All Center, getting off the ice with the Jets as he prepares for training camp. Here's Jonathan Toews.
Yeah. Feels like we've been going for quite a while now. We got here last week, and there was only like 4 or 5 of us, and then basically everyone started rolling in this week, and can't believe we're still almost a week out from camp. So, but it's been a lot of fun. Slowly just kind of getting to know guys, and that's something that'll take a little while to just get settled and comfortable in the locker room. And in a way, you want to show your respect, especially to the veteran guys in this room that set the tone and the example for this team every day. And then as I've been saying, I just want to slowly find my way and contribute where I can, and find ways to earn that respect and earn my stripes with this group too. So, but yeah, it's been a long time, and in a way too, it feels like the last couple of years have gone by in the blink of an eye, and some things that it's almost like sometimes you don't even remember, what skate you put on first, but then once you get going, you don't even think about it, and everything is just muscle memory. So it's fun to just get back in that routine and get back into the structure of an NHL camp and an NHL season.
How are you feeling physically so far?
Pretty good. I mean, again, it's when you're away from the game for that long, no matter what, it takes some time to get things up to speed, and it's been good to be on the ice. You do a lot of 3-on-3 and small area stuff where you don't have a lot of space, and those are the situations you kind of get a little bit hasty, a little bit excited, and make a play that you wouldn't have made if you were slowing things down and be a little bit more patient. But that sort of thing will start coming back, and I'm sure my game will progress and improve throughout the entire season too.
Jonathan, you often hear young players will maybe go to a coach, say, I want to play as many preseason games as possible, maybe even some veterans. Do you have a number? There's 6 this year. Is there a number that might work for you, or is that something you're just going to sort of deal with as it comes? I
mean, I won't say a number. I'll talk to Arnie about that, but probably the more the better at this point. I think we got quite a bit of rest, or we got at least almost a full week between our last preseason game and our first game of the season. So yeah, I think I've done all the conditioning and training and all the stuff you can do on and off the ice to prepare. So at this point, it's just about kind of getting in the rhythm of a day where you show up, you got morning skate, and you go home and get prepared, and then you find ways to get to bed and recover, and then do it again the next day. And so I think there's that, and there's also just going out there and playing in the game and playing at this speed and at this level again. So just, as I mentioned before, just trying to settle in and not overthink things and start to feel the game again.
Can you describe how your legs are? It looks like you're moving pretty well.
Yeah, I feel great. I'm really happy. I think throughout the summer, there's going to be those days where you're training pretty hard off the ice and you go out there and nothing's working and you're just kind of slugging away. And then you got to kind of just let those days go and remind yourself that it's not going to be perfect every day. You're not going to feel 100%. But at this point now, it's like all the off-ice stuff kind of boils down and you're on the ice much more and you're just fine-tuning your game. So I feel like I got much more speed, much more energy on the ice too, and I know it's only going to improve too.
I don't know if this is silly to ask, given you're one of the most decorated players in NHL history, but it's been a while since you've been new to a group. So would you allow yourself any first day of school nerves, or like, I hope they like me?
For sure, for sure. You want to belong. You want to be part of the team, and like I said, it is a new experience for sure, especially after being away from hockey as long as I have been, to kind of integrate, so to speak, into a new locker room. So yeah, Monday when the whole team was here, is meeting a lot of new people, not just the players but the staff as well, and that's part of the fun. It's already easy to pick up on why this team has a lot of chemistry in the locker room and on the ice, and a lot of guys with a lot of talent, but also a ton of character in this room too. So you can feel that already, and it's fun to be a part of something like that.
John, what does it mean to have a lot of guys like cheering you on? Like I saw Patrick Kane was interviewed, Patrick Sharp, those guys, former teammates in Chicago. What is their support meant to you?
It means a lot. I mean, we went through quite a lot together, and had some great memories in the city of Chicago with guys like Sharpie and Kaner, and it's nice to see that we still have that bond, not only because we won championships, but because of everything we went through together, and we all wish each other well, no matter what happens. And there's a time there where every year it was the same group, the same faces, and we knew we were going to have a chance to win and go deep in the season. And it's almost like you get to a point where you think things are never going to change, and then now it's life is completely different for everybody. So it's interesting to see how things change, and but yeah, I appreciate the kind of words from those guys.
Obviously a lot of focus on things like conditioning as you come back skating, but what about the hands? And you're one of the best face-off guys in the league. Is that going to be muscle memory? You can just pick that right up, or it's such a timing thing, right? Does that take some work to get back to?
I hope so. I think so. Not everything's going to be perfect off the start. There's going to be days where there's little hitches, there's some rust that you got to shake off, and just trying to remind myself again not to overthink it, not to get too frustrated, that you got to keep working on your game. That's the great thing about hockey is there's just so many skills you got to work on. There's so many different aspects of the game, and you're constantly trying to keep it all together and get better in all those areas. So I'm a player that I've always prided myself on playing a complete game, playing two ends of the rink, and you're going to make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. I'll be out there with some really good players that are helping make me look better, and just go out there and have fun and keep working.
What's it like to hear guys like Braden Yager, who we talked to yesterday, say, when he was a young kid coming up, that his coaches and parents always said, like, watch Sidney Crosby, watch Jonathan Toews. Those are the two players that he was told to always keep an eye on for the 200-foot game. Is it flattering? Does it make you feel a little older when you got players now on your team here in the system that looked up to you like that?
Yeah, definitely both. Yeah, it's definitely flattering to be mentioned in a sentence like that. And I think, I've gotten pretty used to every young kid growing up wanting to be like Patrick Kane. So I get a little tired of hearing that once in a while. But yeah, that feels good to hear too.
What about since you're just kind of getting back into a routine now, what did you miss about the game that maybe you didn't realize now that you're kind of getting into it again?
Well, I've been talking a lot about just being around this group, and I think that's the number one thing. Being away from hockey, and you talk to some of my former teammates in Chicago that are retired now, and I think that's the one thing they always mention too, that they miss being around the guys, and I think that's the one thing that they're super excited for me to have a chance to play again, because I get to be back in that locker room. So aside from that, I love playing the game. I love improving, getting better, and just feeling good too. I think that's the one thing that you think you're working hard, and you look over, there's always someone doing something, working harder, finding ways to get better that you can always learn from. So you're constantly kind of exposing your own weaknesses and making yourself uncomfortable in that sense. And I think it's fun to push yourself in that way too.
When the NHL skit came out, I think it was late July this year, I imagine one of the first things you did is look to see when the first visit to Chicago was. I don't think it's till like mid-January. Is that a good thing? Would you almost want that earlier, or does it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter. I think either way, I'm sure I'll be pretty nervous. There'll be a lot of excitement, a lot of great memories just to be there with the fans in the city of Chicago. And I always found it strange when teammates I went to play for other teams and they're coming into the training room to say hi to the training staff, because all those guys they're all still there. It was a real family for a long time, and so it'll be strange, but it'll be a lot of fun. And I saw Kaner went back and had a big night and scored the overtime winner, so that was just amazing to see. So there'll be a few bucks on the board for the boys to try and get the win, but we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun either way.
What's it been like around the city since you've been back in town? Like just either friends you've seen or people coming up to you?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I haven't really lived here much, since I left home when I was a young kid, and coming back for the summers and stuff. But you're not around long enough to really like sink your roots back into the ground and get to know people around town. So it's kind of been nice just finding my way around my neighborhood, and having some buddies come over and just seeing old faces too. So I'm sure there'll be much more of that too.
All right, so there's Jonathan Toews. Really impressive, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is a guy that spent his fair time during his career in front of a microphone, but such a unique situation for him. I thought it was some great insight to, what he's been going through, how he's been ramping up his training, the fact that he wants to get out and play in a bunch of preseason games and then get ready to get after it with the Winnipeg Jets. Ken Wiebe was down there. You heard Kenny with that last question. He's going to join us in just a moment. While we wait for Ken to jump in, let me thank our friends at Princess Auto for their support of WST and, of course, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Princess Auto Stadium sold out every game this season, and it will be again for the Bombers' next game. But Princess Auto, while supporting the Bombers and Winnipeg Sports Talk, does so much in our Winnipeg and Manitoba community. They're, of course, founded in Winnipeg, headquartered right here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast, but with 3 locations to serve you in the province: Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and, of course, out in Brandon. And you will find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete those projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. So see them in store today, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Folks, everybody needs batteries, whether it is for your car or truck as we get into the winter, whether it's for your sled, whether it's for an ATV, obviously boats and campers all summer long. Manitoba Battery is your local option for every battery you need, where you'll be able to shop local and get the best prices in town, period. We know Winnipeggers like a good deal, and there's no good deal. There's no better deal than Manitoba Battery, I should say. They got a big sale on right now with the harvest sale, but 12 months a year, you can count on Manitoba Battery for the lowest prices in town and the best customer service. So as Donnie says, wake up, Winnipeg. Stop paying more at the big box stores and shop local with Manitoba Battery. 2 locations in Winnipeg: Logan Avenue, their new location in the south end of the city on Dovercourt Drive. You can obviously pop in and see them, but they know you're busy. They'll be more than happy to give you those great deals and not have you even leave the house. Order online at manitobabattery.com or give them a call, and they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. It is just that easy. So for all your battery needs, get the best deals in town and shop local. Manitoba Battery, 2 locations, and online at manitobabattery.com. And hey, not particularly nice outside right now. We may have some thunderstorms later. It is going to be summery for the next week or so, but fall is just around the corner, gang. And guys, if you're looking into your closet and realize you need to up your menswear game, get on down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown for the best in custom men's clothing, including custom suits starting at $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories in town. If you are getting married or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a special discount for the boys when you get your suits for the big day at F Apparel. Again, F's at 190 Smith Street, right just a slap shot away from the arena downtown. Find out more or book in for a fitting online at F, that's EPH Apparel.com. All right, fresh back from the Hockey for All Center on, as we talked about with Connor Hrabchak earlier, a day that probably looked a little more like the regular season as opposed to a week out of training camp. Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press joins us now. Wiebe, great to have you back on the program. What's going on?
Good afternoon, Andrew. Great to be with you. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Not great golf weather for some, but busy day down at the rink. So felt a lot less guilty being indoors today than yesterday with the beautiful activities outdoors.
Yesterday was absolutely glorious. That is for sure. I mean, you've done a lot of these. What was that scene like down out the west side of the city today? A little different than the normal captain skate, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Huss. I mean, honestly, we've talked about it so much over the course of the last few months, but I think you just understand the magnitude of what's happening with Jonathan Toews here a little bit more, the more NHLers that you speak to, right? So today, Adam Lowry is speaking about his own recovery, and, he's talking about being in solitary confinement as all the other players are getting to know and skate with Jonathan. And I mean, honestly, this is one of the biggest stories in the National Hockey League this year, Huss. And I know we've said it a lot. Jonathan just wants to kind of blend in and be part of the process and the scenery here. But when you're one of the most decorated players kind of in NHL history and you're coming back after 2 years, I mean, there's a lot of people interested in how it's going to look. I mean, we saw Patrick Kane weighing in this week and in speaking with Greg Wyshynski, our pal, down in Vegas at the media tour. And there's a lot of people wanting to see Jonathan Toews succeed. And I mean, Jonathan is, he's fired up and ready to roll, but he also understands that, training camp is still a week away, and he wants to do this over the course of 7 or 8 or 9 months here. So the concept of time is super interesting for him right now too, because I mean, as he's pointing out, a lot of the things feel like, there was just yesterday, but a lot, and you're leaning on muscle memory, but the 2 years, he said himself, went by in a blink of an eye in some ways, but you're also trying to get back into the usual routine of the National Hockey League. And said this before too. I mean, something that can kind of become a bit monotonous for an NHL player when they've been around the NHL for almost 2 decades, but he's actually feeling joy just being around other people, right? Yes, he skated with a few NHLers in the past in the recovery, but there's a lot of alone days in the NHL, Huss, when you're kind of trying to come back from what he's coming back from. And I think being around other teammates and, kind of getting to know guys and, giving high fives here and there and finding out where Gabe Vilardi likes his saucer passes. I think that's something that, as someone who's a student of the game, he's just sort of soaking every little bit of this up like a sponge in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because, Ken, I think most of the players will be trying to soak up everything from Jonathan Toews like a sponge as we get into it. But, you really did get that reaction from him that, he's here. It's a very different scenario than he's been in before. And, he's trying to get to know the guys, become part of the team, and just ease into the group with a lot of respect for the veteran players that did what this team did last year, winning the President's Trophy.
Yeah, Huss, it's just not often that a guy who has been in the league that long is having to integrate every year things are different. We understand that there's turnover in professional sports, in hockey, but when it comes to joining a new organization after you've been in one for as long as Jonathan Toews has, I mean, that process is, it's a real thing. It's not just something that you say for it to sound good. I mean, he literally is getting to know people. Yes, he's played against some of these guys, sure. But, you're also getting to know the Braden Yagers and guys that have been looking up to you since they started playing hockey, So Again, he made a joke about it too, saying, yes, in some ways, yes, it makes you feel old, but you're also appreciative to be in those kind of conversations with Sidney Crosby and him, that as Braden referenced yesterday in speaking with us, Huss. So, it's an interesting process for him for sure, but it's not going to take long for him to, ingratiate himself with this group. It's clear that they respect what he has done to this point, and they see the work that he put in to get here, Huss, and they know what he can bring to a winning formula. And Adam Lowry referenced it again. I mean, he said flat out, the fact that Jonathan they know that Jonathan is not coming back to do anything but try to get his name engraved on the Stanley Cup a fourth time. And the fact that he sees the Jets as a legitimate contender and an option for him to be on that cup one more time is something that is, that's a real thing. And those guys appreciate the fact that he has considered them and that he signed here and that he wants to help them take the next step. And this just in, Huss, when you've been to the top of that mountain 3 times in the NHL and, countless times as an international player, you have a pretty good idea what a winning team is supposed to look like. And, you can help that team kind of maybe help push them over the top. It would be an incredible feat for someone who has accomplished so much in his career to this point.
Hey, let me ask you this. Based on what we heard from Adam Lowry, he might miss a month of the regular season, but he's going to be out for a significant number of games to begin the season. Adam Lowry's the captain. Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey have the A's. When he is out and the coaching staff is slapping another A on another player, do you think it's Jonathan Toews? Or is that almost not necessary, and do you think it's more likely that they'd give it to like a Kyle Connor or one of the other veteran players that have been around a little bit longer?
Yeah, Huss, honestly, it's a great question, and I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know how Scott Arniel is the only person who maybe knows how he feels about this. I think he'd probably take the temperature of that leadership group before making that kind of a decision. I think it would be a natural selection. But at the same time, we've seen over the years, whether it's Kyle Connor, Neil Pionk, Dylan DeMello, there's a bunch of guys who have worn that, the third A previously, depending on guys who are out. So, again, I'm with you. It's not something that would be necessary, but it would make sense in a lot of regards. But I think also too, Jonathan's not banging on the door saying, hey, throw a letter on my jersey here either, right? So I think you can make the argument on either side. I don't have a gut feeling on which direction they're leaning. Because too, so do you go into rotation after the season, after Lowry's back, then how do you decide who's, if you're putting it on Toews, it's only a part-time thing. I just think, Huss, I think you said it best. This is like a Brendan Dillon situation. He's a leader in that group without needing a letter to say he is a leader on that group, right? We know there have been a lot of guys in the program before. And I think too, that the fact that I would say I'm leaning towards not needing a letter for Jonathan would just be the fact that he flat out said today, I'm trying to earn the respect of those players who have been here for a long time. And this just in also, Huss, he already has that respect of those players, but the fact that he doesn't necessarily need one, I think that was another sort of reiteration that, he's just here to be part of the group. He's going to speak up when he feels it's necessary. This is a guy who's a natural born leader. So
I think the timing of this maybe plays into it as well. As we talk this out and think about it, if Adam Lowry all of a sudden was injured in February and you're going into March and Toews has, had a good season and he's established and is, maybe they go that route. But keep in mind, this is going to be for the first game of the season.
Right.
And I almost think Toews would probably prefer it is someone else, and he can go in and be himself, continue to work through. Because honestly, not that it's a big deal, to be perfectly honest. This is not going to change the outcome of games or anything like that. But that dynamic within the team, I think if I'm Scott Arniel, if I had to bet today, I bet it goes to, whether it is a Pionk, a Connor, DeMello, and one of those players that have been a little bit while, and just let Jonathan focus on playing hockey, getting back to the best version of Jonathan Toews. And I don't think they have to worry about the leadership qualities of whether having an A will make a difference on the number 19 jersey, because I'm pretty sure that will not be an issue.
Yeah, no doubt, Huss. And yeah, I mean, it's something that's interesting to talk about just because of the kind of person that he is. And I mean,
sure.
I referenced this last week where like in a simple 3-on-3 game where, so much has changed in a week, even though nothing has changed outside of it just being another step in the process. But you could tell last week when there were only 4 NHLers on the ice that like Jonathan was showing all kinds of leadership qualities already. And now when almost all of the group is in town, outside of a handful of guys, you sort of still see that, but I think you see him just try to sort of fit in. But there's going to be people approaching him that, we understand these guys have played with superstar players before, but I mean, this is a guy that a lot of these young guys were watching him in the 2010 and 2014 Olympics. And, some of the other guys who've been around longer, remember the 3 shootout goals in Vancouver, right? I mean, this is a guy who's got his, we know the resume, we know how decorated he is. But he is just going, come October 9th, they just want him to be part of the group. He's going to be an important part of the group, I think. But I think it's just a matter of getting the getting to know you phase. And I just think that it's something that it's going to be sort of accelerated once things get going here. And I mean, this is a natural born leader. He doesn't need a letter on his jersey for me. If they wanted to give him one down the road, or, we've talked about this before, I think it's pretty clear that I don't know that this is just a one and done for Jonathan. I don't think this is I worked my ass off to get back to show that I can be an NHL player. I think this is a guy who feels he has, quite a bit left in the tank, and, provided things go well and he's healthy, I could see him being in Winnipeg for a number of years. I don't know if that's 2 or 3 or whatever the number ends up being, but I mean, this is a guy who absolutely oozes joy for hockey and passion. So, much like we've been talking about Sidney Crosby sort of beating father time, I think Jonathan would be a guy who'd like to play for a few more years. And if that's the case, then it would be easier to slap a letter on him at some point in the next couple of years. But I would just say I don't think it's a necessity. But again, if they felt differently and if they feel that that's the way they want to go, I mean, you can understand why, and you can obviously get behind that kind of idea. But I just think that given the circumstances, he just wants to blend in and do his thing, and he'll lead by example regardless.
Hey, you mentioned Crosby and Jonathan Toews. Did you talk to Braden Yeager this week?
I did, yeah, yesterday.
And it was funny. He was recounting that story. He said his dad, when he was a young player, always pointing out Sidney Crosby and Jonathan Toews. And who does he get his first taste of the NHL with? Sid. And now becoming a pro with Jonathan Toews. It makes a lot of sense that those were guys that he looked up to with that 200-foot game. But just a quick thought on Yeager and the rest of the young players that are heading out to Montreal for the weekend. And I'm really interested to see Kieran Walton. I was talking about that with Marat yesterday, just after his blow-up season yesterday. But I would imagine that Yeager in particular will have a great opportunity. And apparently they're going to be playing in front of 20K Saturday night at the Bell Center. What a way for these young players to get a little taste of the show.
There's a lot of enthusiasm there, Huss. And hey, as someone who had attended the Young Stars Classic in Penticton several times, covering the event in the earlier years, I mean, it's a fun venue, but like, we're not talking about 20,000 in an NHL barn here, Huss, with all due respect to Penticton, which has now graduated to the Western Hockey League here and starting their first season next week here. But I mean, players are, I'm pretty sure he said it 2 or 3 times. Yeager referenced the sold out crowd several times, and it's going to be pretty easy to get up for a game like this. Even if you're Braden Yeager and you've played in, this sort of event 2 times previously, once in Pittsburgh, now once in Winnipeg last year in BC. But there's genuine enthusiasm. I think that there is a select group of that, those players, Huss, that recognize, there's only a very small group that is really in the mix for an NHL job. And again, those jobs are very scarce and there may not be any of them, but maybe there's one forward job up front, right? Other than that, there's not really a whole lot of players that are, nothing that happens in the next 2 days on the weekend, Huss, Saturday and Sunday, will impact someone's ability to make an NHL roster. But as we saw last year with Kevin He, his ability to get a head start at the Young Stars Classic really allowed him to come into main camp with just an incredible amount of momentum and that enthusiasm I referenced earlier. Like, you noticed him every time. And then when he got into his preseason game, I think it was in Edmonton, like, you noticed him on the ice and he didn't look out of place. He's out there because of his skating ability and because he's able to close on hits and finish his checks on the forecheck. You noticed him all the time. So even though he was sent back to junior, which was always going to be the case, his ability to, get his feet wet in that game situation against prospects allowed him to feel comfortable once it came down to game time against, some of the more seasoned professionals. And then it allowed him to just kind of shoot out of a cannon when he went back to Niagara, right? I mean, that was the kind of year that he had. So in this case, Huss, it's important for Nikita Chibrikov. We've talked so much about all the development time that he missed in 4 months of development time.
Says a lot that he has to go.
Absolutely, 100% right. So we talked about his maturity last week, Huss. So I think that's just a great example. And, Mark Morrison referencing, like, if you're a Chibrikov, you don't want your first hit of the exhibition season to be coming against, let's say, Darnell Nurse, right? You don't want someone who's an established NHLer that's, 6'4", 220, kind of laying into you. You'd like it to be against a prospect sort of, not of a lower caliber, but you know what I mean? Like, you want to be able to get your skating legs underneath you. You don't have to wait another week. You'd like to get in there, get some, especially the way that Chibrikov plays, Huss, with that tenacity, with that physical nature. He wants to mix it up. So, let's be honest. It's easier to mix it up in a prospect game than it is in an NHL game. And that's not to say he's going to be scared to do it in an NHL game, because he's not. But to do it once or twice before being put in an NHL environment, I think is important for him. And, as I told you last week, the more I watched him this week, 2 or 3 more times, Chibrikov is getting around the ice very well for someone who had a knee injury that he dealt with. I mean, he talked to my colleague Mike McIntyre about working his way back from it. There were some lonely times, but worked his behind off, and now he's kind of ready to sort of put his pole in the ground, if you will, in terms of saying, hey, I'm here too. We know that the Jets have added a bunch of depth for the American Hockey League, but, I'm here to compete for a job. And again, you want players to feel that way, and obviously they do. And how many of those jobs are available will depend on a bunch of variety of issues, whether it's injury or performance related or whatever, because let's face it, it's a pretty darn good roster and there aren't a lot of holes in it. And it's not easy for someone like Nikita Chibrikov, even though he's got this, great composure as a young player, and he's, in his small sample size, has been a very productive NHLer in those 4 or 5 games, whatever it is. I don't have it quite off the top of my head, but when you're going up against guys like Tanner Pearson, who've been in the league for a long time, I mean, it's tough to usurp those guys on the depth chart, but that's why they get out there. That there's nothing predetermined. Most of the spots are taken, yes, but if you come in and give them no choice but to consider you, that's a testament to those young players in the organization. And Huss, we said it before, and Mark Morrison talked about it openly. I mean, hey, these are guys that are not just here for American Hockey League duty. They want to be in the NHL too. So, if you're a first-year pro like Colby Barlow or Braden Yager, you're competing with a Chibrikov and a Lambert, and also guys like Sam Fagemo who are coming over and, trying to make their own mark in the organization, both, and Parker Ford. Hey, the fact Parker Ford is rocking 25 as a jersey number, hey, he wants to be in the mix here too after scoring in his first NHL game. So I think that element of competition will be interesting. And I'm also very curious to see too, Huss, like, these guys are growing up together, and you touched on Kieran Walton. I mean, if you're Kieran Walton, I mean, you know that there's guys in the organization that are ahead of you on the depth chart, and for him, it's junior or bust, right? So he also wants to have a great year, and he'd like to get himself into consideration for World Junior camps and all these other things. But and for Walton, it's just a cool thing, like his twin brother playing on the back end here in a couple of the games. I think that's got to be great for, 2 guys that grew up and have pushed each other and all those things. I mean, it's going to be a fun storyline to kind of watch, even though we know that the brother is not a member of the organization. He's just here as a PTO tryout guy, but that'll be cool for them. Danny Zhilkin is a guy who had a bunch of injury issues last year, but, chance for him to kind of get his feet back under him. And And it's a really big year in terms of his development also here, Huss. So, and again, Elias Solomonson, we know what kind of year he had. Yes, he had the injuries, but I mean, Mark Morrison spoke so glowingly about his performance and development last year that, again, he's one of the few guys that will be competing for a job, even though there might not be an open job available to him. He wants to force his way into maybe stealing a job. So, because we know, he did a great job as the number one guy on the Moose as a first year North American pro. So, those will be all things that we want to watch. And, I'm sure that Connor mentioned it, but Dom DiVincentis is rocking some pretty sweet pads, Huss. I think a lot of people will be liking the look of them if they happen to tune in on Jets.com this week coming up here.
Yeah, the games will be available on the Winnipeg Jet website. So for all of you that want to check out the young players that'll be battling for spots within the organization, it'll be available at the Jets website this weekend. Ken, just stepping away a bit from the Jets.
Sure.
What did you make of the report yesterday that Kaprizov turned down $16 million a year on an 8-year term from the Minnesota Wild?
Yeah, that's a lot of sheets to be turning down, Huss.
The most ever in NHL history
is what I thought of that. Our pal Jesse Pierce from the Twin Cities in NHL.com.
The phone was blowing up. Poor Jess yesterday.
Yeah, she weighed in with her thoughts, and it's a reasonable argument. If you're Kirill Kaprizov, Huss, I don't think that you're I don't think you're necessarily asking for 16.25. I think maybe the term is what you might be interested in, right? Especially with the way the cap is going up. And if you're Kirill, you saw how a situation previously created under the Zach Parise, Ryan Suter era kind of handicapped the organization from competing. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that maybe, maybe if the Stanley Cup is what is most important to him, maybe 16 mil is too much. I don't know. Anyways, I think it's more about the term for Kaprizov right now. And yes, us, we've said this for sure. Almost every single player would want to take the term and the money, the big layout. But if you're him, you're getting paid anyways. So maybe you just want a 5-year term, or honestly, the other part of that equation has to be, you got to wonder if he wants to be part of that organization for the long term. I mean, there's no other way to interpret that, Huss. That's not to say he wants out, but it certainly seems like he's interested and intrigued by maybe some other possibilities. Otherwise, you're signing the deal, right? I mean, this is pretty much, I know it's never as simple as A plus B equals C, but I mean, anyone who's followed Kaprizov's history, there's been plenty of reporting that suggests that, he's interested in the city of Chicago, and that's not to say that he wants to play with Bedard or anything else, but there's been an element of intrigue for him. And I mean, when you become one of the superstars of the game and you're that close to unrestricted free agency, guess what? A lot of those guys want to pick where they want to go. So again, there's a long way before July 1st. We've talked about this with Kyle Connor a ton, Huss, and we don't have any updates on that.
Well, that's where I want to go.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to put it this way, Huss. I mean, I know you asked me last week, and we've talked about, do you have to consider trading him? Like, I'll just put it this way. Are the Vegas Golden Knights, should they consider trading Jack Eichel right now?
Totally
trying
different
to win the
scenario.
Stanley Cup?
Totally different.
Well, how is it
scenario.
different? He's in the last year of his deal.
They're
trying
the
to win
Vegas
Stanley
Golden
Cup.
Knights and the Winnipeg Jets are in two completely different neighborhoods in the landscape of the NHL, in my opinion.
I agree with that, but I mean, that you're asking if you should trade one of the best players in the league, and I don't see that as being.
Vegas can get just say Jack Eichel left as a free agent, they would have zero problem filling that spot with another top level player with a huge bag of cash. The Jets don't have that opportunity, or well. It's highly unlikely that they would. I guess
that's totally fair, Huss. I mean, it's true, but I mean, Minnesota, you could say the same about them. I mean, they're not. I don't even view them as a real Stanley Cup contender. So, like, are they going to trade Kaprizov? And what are they getting for him?
Well, I read today that they asked for his trade list. So now I don't know who was reporting that. So just take that for what it's worth. But anyways, absolutely.
I'm just saying this. I just don't.
If the Minnesota Wild think Kaprizov is gone at the end of the year, I think Bill Guerin has absolutely no other choice but to see what his value is and try and max it out.
For sure. But again, like I said, I think that the Jets are much more of a contender than the Minnesota Wild. So anyways, I still don't think that it's going to be a scenario where this drags out until March 1st or 2nd, Huss. But
okay, here's Cam Robinson. Shout out to Remis for being on top of it. According to his sources, reports that the Wild have approached Kaprizov camp for trade list appears to be premature. So speculation on that. I would imagine that will happen at some point if they're not getting a deal done. But I guess the reason why I bring up Kyle Connor, Ken, and I have been wondering, and I've sort of been speculating that there might be pressure, I think, on a lot of these agents to sort of hold out. And I don't know whether these agents, like of the Connor, Kaprizov, Eichel, McDavid's in another category, but of those guys, I'm not sure anyone really wants to be first. Because, it's just like the NFL. I mean, a quarterback signs and he's the highest paid player. And then 2 days later, the next quarterback signed, and then they get to that point. And I do wonder about the PA and the agents, and if that is going to make it more difficult for the Winnipeg Jets to get their Kyle Connor deal done in the timing that works for the organization, to not have it hanging around the team like a black cloud all year.
Yeah, and Huss, I totally understand that part of the equation and the argument, but I mean, I would just turn it back. You just mentioned McDavid. If you're Stan Bowman, are you trading Connor McDavid if he doesn't sign an extension this year? If you're trying to win the cup after being there 2 years in a row,
I'm not sure we can compare
their situation.
Kyle Connor to Connor McDavid.
I'm not saying the player, but you said the organization, like Vegas and Winnipeg, not the same, but Edmonton and Winnipeg, they're not that dissimilar in terms of market and attracting players.
I guess I would say
market.
this. If they thought that McDavid was gone at the end of the year and they weren't going to be able to re-sign him, then I would say yes. Like,
you're not taking one more run at the cup after being there twice in the last 2 years?
I mean, listen, they didn't win it with him, but they got really close. And I think you have to look at listen, it's opportunity cost, right? You got, if you think that he's gone at the end of the year, you could either go it out, give it another crack, and then lose him for nothing and be a team that is significantly worse. Or you could acknowledge the fact that this is happening, get ahead of it, get an ridiculous return that would hopefully set you up to, while you've got Draisaitl under contract, be a consistent Stanley Cup contender and be a better team overall. I mean,
are you getting a ridiculous return if he's not signing with you? And if he's set on getting to July 1st?
Most of these teams, I think that's obviously part of the conversations as to where he would like to go, what one of those teams. I mean, we've seen it happen before. Calgary did it with Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, there is an element of trading players to where, much like Dubois, you're trading him to a team that he will sign an extension with. And, you get a lot bigger return for it. I don't really want to get down the road of having to do something like that, and I'm sure the Wild aren't there. My point is that I think that this news with Kaprizov got my hair standing up, not because I have any empathy for the Minnesota Wild, who are one of the Jets' biggest rivals, but when I heard that and that number that was said no to, it made me reconsider what I think is realistic for the Jets to get done with Kyle Connor. Unless he just really is committed here and wants to be here and everything else is noise. And that would be great, but I'm not sure that that's the case.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing, Huss. I mean, we know the shroud of secrecy, both from, Kyle's one of the most, not an overshare. Yeah. Let's just say he's the opposite of an oversharer, Huss.
He's not tweeting out everything that's happening with with his agent.
So anyway, and he's also staying calm and rational about everything. So, but we also know that, yes, I mean, I understand everything that fans would be feeling after what happened with Ehlers and everything else. But I mean, there are also plenty of examples of players who have signed during the season leading into their unrestricted free agency years. So, and only Kyle knows for sure what is important to him in his next deal. And if he wants that to be in Winnipeg, or if he wants to play at home, or if he wants to play with someone else on some other team, whether he played with them before or has gotten to know them at summer skates, that part of the thing we're not going to know until probably after the deal is signed. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And like I said, you said it yourself, Huss. Everything else is kind of just noise, to be honest. So Kyle has given no indication that he is unhappy here. He's often said how much he's enjoyed it. It's the only place he's played. He's raising a young family. Stability, much like the other guys who've chosen stability here, he seems like a natural fit to be the next guy to choose stability in a place where he is a homegrown talent. But again, ultimately, until he does that, I mean, there's always the possibility that something else happens. But I don't see that as a high likelihood of happening until there are other breadcrumbs left or signals that are given from the Batcave that's the direction this is going. So. Anyways, it's part of our job is to speculate and make the best prognosis as we can. So
guess we'll find out a little bit more when,
yeah.
I mean, well, we probably won't find out a lot more on Monday when Connor starts to talk, but it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about it. I guarantee he will get asked about it, and Winnipeg Jet fans will be on pins and needles seeing how that goes, and then hopefully he'll go out and have a great round and a nice day at St. Chuck's. Kenny, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it as always, and we'll look forward to checking out what happens with the young players out in Montreal and catch up next week as camp gets going on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Great to be with you, and looking forward to Hacksaw's prognosis of J.J. McCarthy in the second half rally. That was impressive to witness on Monday. Yes, indeed.
Thank God that happened for Viking fans on Monday, because I don't think they were ready for that kick in the nuts from Kaprizov's agent yesterday. So at least they can just focus on the Vikings for a little bit and not worry about their superstar potentially leaving at the end of the year. Have a good one, Wiebe. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, take care, my friend. Cheers.
All right, there's Ken. You can check out all of his Jets coverage in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. Well, training camp gets going next week for the Winnipeg Jets. Hockey is already underway. We've got tryouts going on right now, teams being made. Hey, if you're getting ready for the upcoming season, you only need to go to one spot to get locked and loaded to drop the puck. And that, of course, is Royal Sports, the hockey superstore in Winnipeg for over 50 years, with the biggest selection in town of sticks, skates, equipment, goaltending equipment, custom projects done, you name it, they have it for you. If you have a hockey player in the family or a new player starting out, one trip to Royal Sports and you will be ready to drop the puck on the season, as they've been the hockey leader in town for over 50 years. While you're there, check out all the new NFL merchandise and get ready for Jets season with your Toews, your Velarde jerseys, which are flying off the shelves. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Give them a follow on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merch drops and, of course, tent sale and sale information. Coming up, we got a great Thursday nighter tonight. Packers and Commanders. We'll talk about that with Hacksaw in just a second. If you're looking for a great spot to watch that game, obviously the choice is easy. Your local Boston Pizza Lounge. They'll have the game on the big screen. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, NFL prizes, and more. Every primetime game, Boston Pizza, make it your spot for your gang. And hey, if you can't make it out tonight, taking care of the kids, get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're bringing in Hacksaw one day early. First things first, though, let's give a big cheers to our friends over at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's welcome in Hacksaw. You know the site, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Make sure to give him a sub on YouTube as well. Saw, great to talk to you. And man, what a week in the National Football League. I mean, just before we get to week 2 and what to look ahead to, there was a lot to dive into. But for my money, those 2 primetime games, Sunday and Monday, very different games, but 2 incredibly interesting ones. A choke job by the Ravens, huge comeback by the Bills. And then one of the most intriguing matchups we've had in recent NFL history that went all J.J. McCarthy just in time for the Minnesota Vikings to pull one out of the fire. How'd you enjoy week 1?
Hustler, great weekend. But why would you intentionally avoid talking about the changing of the guard in the AFC West with the Chargers
Give me a break.
over Kansas City? Well, I'll run through all of them for you, but
we'll discuss that in a moment. But I did want to lead with the Bills and that game was absolutely nuts. We talked all week that it could be the game of the year, and the bar's been set pretty high. And then, wow, Monday night, the comeback by the Vikings and JJ, and his first start after a nightmare start to his career early in the game.
Yeah, let's just talk for a second about Buffalo, Baltimore. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd see a fourth quarter collapse by a John Harbaugh team. That defense just could not get off the field. Lamar Jackson and the offense never got the football really in the fourth quarter. And here's Buffalo just pouring it on, 16 points in the final, 12 minutes of the game. Absolutely stunning. You talk about a phenomenal punch in the gut when you consider what Lamar and Derrick Henry did the entire first half, going up and down the field, etc. Baltimore's, I'm not going to say they have flaws, but man, they got sucker punched in this one. And they just could not get their secondary nor their pass rush to link up. They couldn't cover, and they couldn't really get to Josh Allen. So that was a stunner. Last I checked, though, Hustler, it only counts as one victory. And these dudes are going to see themselves again before the end of the season. In terms of Minnesota, that was a rugged three quarters. It was really not an artistically good football game, but J.J. McCarthy found himself in that fourth quarter. I mean, he had 3 scoring drives. That was pretty impressive. And he started throwing laser shot passes completed, busted a big run, showed great courage in the pocket, etc. I was really impressed with how well he played, considering all the adversity he had. I think at one point in the third quarter, Hustler, he had 68 yards in offense. Think about that. So, I mean, Kevin O'Connell is a guru, and steady as she goes, and he just takes it series by series, and he'll work on certain things and put his quarterbacks in the right position to get the job done. So, I mean, just phenomenal games. And then obviously what Green Bay did in their victory was unbelievably impressive with that quarterback. And obviously Micah Parsons running all over the place, knocking quarterbacks down, knocking passes down. Green Bay's a force to be reckoned with. So, yeah, there's some teams in the NFC that, because, oh, boy, did that happen to us? Yeah, it happened to us, and obviously it happened to Baltimore too. So just an electric first weekend, and the TV ratings were through the roof. I mean, we had one game that had a 24 million viewership, another game had 23.8 million. Just absolutely staggering. But again, that's the league. The league wants to hit the floor running, and they give us the marquee matchups. We don't have as many sexy matchups here in the second weekend.
Now, the Chargers-Chiefs game on Friday night was something. Listen, the Chargers raised the banner, week 1 champions of the AFC West. Very weird game. I mean, Rashee Rice already out, and then Xavier Worthy gets taken out by Kelsey on the first play of the game. And it was just seeming like we were back to where we were last year and the year before, where Mahomes didn't have any receivers. Listen, I will say this. I thought Mahomes was absolutely brilliant in that game. He put the team on his back. I mean, it was something to see. But on the other side, and you tell me, you watch this team, that to me looked like the best game that Justin Herbert's ever played.
He's played some big games when but unfortunately he's had to do a lot of it himself. But they played really well offensively. I guess what stunned me more than anything, Kansas City does not have a lot of help for Patrick Mahomes. Now, I thought the left tackle, Josh Simmons, played pretty well and held up there against blitz packages. I don't understand why Juwan Taylor is still the starting right tackle in Kansas City. Would he have 4 penalties and he kept getting beat? Kansas City couldn't run the bleeping football at all. That's an issue. I want to know why they hardly targeted Kelsey at all in the first half. Hey, I see the Chargers. I cover the Chargers. They have tight ends that can't cover, linebackers who can't cover tight ends. Why the hell are you not targeting Bray and Kelsey in that first half? And Mahomes, what he did was spectacularly individual, but he had no help whatsoever. And the other thing that stunned me, I mean, that was a Charger offensive front that was really in disarray because of injuries and sickness, etc. Where was Spagnuolo's blitz package? That was the only way he was going to slow Justin Herbert down, and they didn't do it in the second half. They actually kind of got away from the pressure midway through the first half. So I think the Chargers are a complete team. And I think the reality is Kansas City now is not what Kansas City has been, and they have had such a tremendous run. So, I mean, you can dislike me, but I think the changing of the guard in the AFC West has now officially begun.
You are on the list, my friend. The every year people make ridiculous week 1 assumptions and takes, And you just did that, my friend. Again, raise the banner. Week 1 champions of the AFC West, the Chargers. We'll see what happens. That being said, the Chiefs have their hands full this week. They've got the Eagles. What did you make of the NFL rewriting the rules and saying, well, even though he was in the game, he missed the whole game pretty much, so we're not going to suspend him. We're going to treat week 1 as a suspension, and Jalen Carter can go. I will say this. If that happened to Chris Jones, there would be protests around 31 other NFL cities.
Well, at the end of the day, I thought the league was pretty tough on him. I mean, they ejected him before he took a snap. That's a pretty big penalty. And then he lost a game check. And then on top of that, he gets hit with a $57,000 fine. That's significant. Here's the issue, though, and nobody's mentioned this except Dummy in San Diego. They have now established a baseline for the next guy that does anything of this nature. This is going to happen. And they also forwarded the information. If you are a repeat offender, it'll be a double package of sanctions against you. So Jalen Carter was stupid for what he did. I don't know whether Dak Prescott egged him on intentionally, but at the end of the day, why would you do that? The bigger penalty would have been had they lost that game. But I think the league, they handled it with harsh terms, but now they've set a standard that all this other junk is going to stop in the league. If there's personal fouls, if there's ejections, you're going to get the same thing that Jalen Carter just got.
Hacksaw, is there any doubt that Mike McDaniel's going to be the first coach this year to get a pink slip? I haven't looked at what the odds are, but I would imagine there's a minus sign before it. And they could not have looked more miserable. In fact, I've got a countdown right now as to how many days until Tyreek Hill becomes a Kansas City Chief again. What a mess in Miami.
Well, it really is. That's an organizational failure. I don't know whether the ratio is more on Mike McDaniel's leadership on game day and preparation or whether it's on Chris Greer, the general manager, but the roster's in tatters. And now you got Tyreek Hill with this issue with the National Football League with the lawsuits by his ex-wife. He's got such a history of off-the-field problems that seem to be growing, and he's hurt. He's not the same player anymore. And their roster is in disarray. I think it's a miserable season coming, and I think I talked about this with you a couple of weeks ago. I thought that this was where the first implosion was going to occur. There are some other trouble spots around the league, but I don't know if McDaniel survives the middle of the season. They got to halftime. They had 43 yards in offense at halftime with Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, and now they got a fractured roster. So, yeah, they got big trouble there in Miami.
Saul, what do you make of tonight's game? The upstart Commanders going into Lambeau, taking on the Packers, coming off that incredibly impressive performance in Week 1, just stuffing the Lions in a locker.
Yeah, they gave Detroit a dose of their own medicine. And, Detroit has had a great couple of years run with Dan Campbell, but the last 2 years they've had a lot of injuries, and they don't look like the same team now in the offensive front nor in the defensive front. And there's just no doubt that Green Bay just jumped them. This is going to be hard for Washington. They got an added problem. Jaden Daniels has got a wrist injury. They haven't talked very much about it. I don't know if he's going to be 100%. But going up there, now with Parsons there and that pass rush there and Jordan Love and a whole myriad of young wide receivers and 2 deep at running back, Lambeau Field is a really tough-ass place to play going forward for the rest of the season. So I could see Washington get whacked in this one, and I just hope Daniels is not badly hurt with this wrist issue.
Saw, before we go, what are you looking forward to on the weekend? Not quite the incredible 5-star slate we had in Week 1.
Well, we got the Chargers-Raiders on Monday Night Football, and there's going to be some repaid debt there because Justin Herbert owes the Raiders one. That's going to be a great matchup. That's Pete Carroll's attitude versus all things Jim Harbaugh. So I think that Monday Night Football game is going to be great. Chiefs, Eagles, this is a rugged start. Nobody's talking about the fact Kansas City Chargers, Kansas City Eagles, still to come Kansas City, Detroit, Kansas City, Baltimore. That's a brutal start for the season. Intrigued to see Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield against Houston's Will Anderson and that fierce, violent Houston Texans defense. Kid quarterbacks. You mentioned J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy against Atlanta's young quarterback, Michael Penix. That's going to be kind of novel to see what Sunday is going to be like. Chicago, Detroit. If that quarterback, Caleb Williams, I thought he really struggled last week running for his life all the time. He's facing a Detroit team that's got to be so pissed off, it's unbelievable. I don't think I'd want to play the Lions this week, Hustler.
That's
I
a
think
tough spot.
Yeah, that also tough. Another storyline, Dallas plays the Giants. Not that it's going to be competitive. It might be the last game that Russell Wilson starts. There is enormous pressure on Brian Dable. You've got to play Jackson Dart, the late #1 draft pick. And Seattle, who is the real Sam Darnold? Because he had a horrible game for the Seahawks in their home field loss to the Niners. Now Seattle gets on a plane. They go play Pittsburgh. And you'd think the fans with Iron City beer in their hand are going to be amped. Aaron Rodgers' debut in Pittsburgh. That's going to be a tough assignment. Suddenly, Seattle with Sam Darnold could be 0-2. He cannot afford emotionally to have more bad games there.
Yeah, and of course the Niners look like they're going to be without Kittle and Brock Purdy. Luckily, they're playing the Saints. They probably will be able to still get it done, but I don't think Mac Jones is going to be taking them to the promised land. They'll want to get Purdy back as soon as possible. Hacksaw, have some safe travels. Thanks for jumping on Thursday. But of course, people are going to wake up tomorrow and still get the best and the latest coming out of the NFL Thursday nighter at LeeHacksawHamilton.com.
Yeah, it's on the website, and the podcast that we did a day early because of travel issues, that's up there too. Hustler, have yourself a great sports weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll send you a message from Arrowhead after Mahomes wins as an underdog at home for only the second time ever. Looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'll buy you a 1919, or you'll buy me a 1919 when it works out the way I projected. Good to talk to you. Thanks, Hustler.
Thanks, Saw. All right, there's Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Fun NFL conversation. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., live on YouTube, presuming YouTube actually works, we will be cranking out our best bets against the spread, our favorite player props with Jake Boland-Moss and Pat Gregoire, and P. Greggy's going to jump on right away. I got to get his take and read on this Thursday nighter tonight. Do want to remind you that Assiniboia Downs is rolling right into October, and next week, 3 days of live racing, including the final Monday slate of the year. So if you've been, looks like it's going to be gorgeous weather next week. Great time to get out to the track. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week, 7:30 post time, Assiniboia Downs, free parking, free admission, and still time to make a call and get yourself a reservation in the clubhouse dining room for that unbelievable prime rib buffet. More information on everything going on out at the track at asdowns.com. And we'll, of course, we got a couple weeks before the Ryder Cup. Actually, I'm going to see what Patty's feeling about the Ryder Cup right away. We'll be all over it. Maybe the highlight of the entire golfing calendar. It's going to be Bethpage Black. We can't wait for it. But in the meantime, get out, get a couple rounds in while we've got some nice weather here in September. And if you're thinking about a great private course for you and your family, consider Breezy Bend. Give our pal Corey Johnson a call at the clubhouse or check out online at breezybend.ca on membership at one of Winnipeg's top private courses and the home of the 2025 Manitoba Open, Breezy Bend Country Club. All right, let's bring him in before the big show tomorrow at 10 a.m. WST winners with our picks against the spread. Pat Gregoire of Coolbet joins us. And Patty, I know we're going to be getting into tonight's game in a minute, but where is your head at right now on the Ryder Cup?
I'll be honest, man, my head's nowhere near where it needs to be for the Ryder Cup, although I just saw that when you look at that leaderboard right now, Fitzpatrick and Ludwig Aberg over at the BMW PGA Championship, I think they're like 12 under or something crazy like that. To be me totally honest, man, I think this, I know we always see the home team kind of thrive here, but looking at the odds, like I would not be surprised if come tee off here, I'm betting on Team Europe to win this thing.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up right now. There's a ton of, you can already start betting Ryder Cup if you want. And it's awesome. Probably a good time to get in on it and jump on numbers that you like, because obviously these things can change. Top wild card, now that we've got the teams done, you got top US, top Euro point score, top debutante, all of that. But as far as the win the event, USA minus 139, a tie is 12-1, and Europe is plus 145. I will say this. I think they are, and there's probably a reason for this. I mean, the built-in advantages for the home team have USA. I kind of think there's value, though, on Europe at plus 145 right now. This, to me, feels like Europe should probably maybe be plus 120, plus 125 or so. And you think about everything that went into putting the U.S. team together. I have no doubt that Keegan Bradley is going to do everything he can as the captain to win this Ryder Cup. But I wouldn't be surprised if he may be actually missed as a player for the event.
I really do. And when you look at the captain's picks for Team Europe this year as well, pretty impressive. You know, you got Shane Lowry, John Rahm, Sepp Straka, Victor Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick. I somehow think that Oberg might have even been a captain's pick, which was kind of surprising here. But when I just look at this roster, you're right. This should be closer to even money. Like if they're playing at a, let's call it a neutral facility, a neutral golf course, I think it'd be closer probably to even money, but you always got to give the home team an advantage, especially a rowdy New Jersey crowd, which we're definitely going to be seeing at Bethpage.
All right. Now, we'll save all of our takes and our picks and our winners for tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on the YouTube channel, but let's get into tonight's game. And I've been looking at this game all week long, and it was interesting. It was 3.5 originally for the Packers. It's now basically 3. The 3.5 for the Commanders is now minus 130. Packers plus 110. We've seen some movement towards Washington as the road dog here. I'm a little surprised considering just how incredible the Packers looked in week 1. And listen, Washington was good. They were great last year, but they went up against a Giants team that had absolutely nothing going offensively. Meanwhile, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers looked like they were ready for prime time. What's your read on this one?
When you look at where the money is leaning right now, Jake Bull and Moss just put up the update on where the money's leaning. Right now, 57% of the spread bets at -3 are on the Packers. But this is wild to me. 89% of the money is on Green Bay. So the sharp money is going on the Packers at that -3 line. When you look at the total, 44% of the bets are on the over, but 85% of the money is on the over. So the sharper money is on the over. And then when you look at the money line, 81% of the bets and 72% of the money is on the Packers. So it looks like sharp money, square money, anything you slice it here, everyone seems to be on the Packers, which maybe leads me to believe, as you and I tend to like to do, is go against the public and go against the trends. And maybe this is a Commander's opportunity here. But with that being said, Haas, I don't know about you. I'm probably staying away from either side, especially at that number 3 number. If you're looking at 3.5, I think I'd consider the Commanders, but the prime number 3, I don't know if I like it.
If you wanted the Commanders at 3.5, I think you needed to get out. I mean, at -130 compared to the -109, I think that it came out at pretty significant move. But there's a couple other areas. Now, listen, I'm going to get into a couple of props I like, and I've actually put together an exclusive in the under WST in the Coolbet exclusives. I think the Commanders are going to run the hell out of the football tonight.
Yep.
And listen, the Packers really did surprise me at how well they did in shutting down Gibbs and Montgomery, but they also got a lead and really sort of forced them into a passing game where the run game wasn't as much an option in the second half. I think the Commanders are going to give it to Eckler. They're going to give it to Krotsky Merritt. They may give it to Deebo Samuel, and they'll certainly be their fair share of Jaden Daniels. And Daniels, and I even think back to games like they had against the Eagles last year, arguably the best defense in the league. Daniels still ran for 80 yards. They had some very, very long drives. So while I like what Washington, I think they'll try to do everything they can to consistently get in second or third and shorts with the run game, knowing that Daniels with his legs can move the chains. I think this could be a game where we see long drives, and I am sort of leaning to the under on this one. Now, it's gone from 49 to 48.5 over the course of the last hour or so. I put it in on this combo or in this exclusive at 49.5, and we know how good these odds makers are. That made me feel great when I saw that it's 48.5 and we have an extra point. But there's a couple of rushing props that I'm going to put in on this one. And number one is Jordan Love. Jordan Love rushing yards over 5.5. Now, last week against Detroit, he had 4 rushing yards on 3 carries. I think, if he rushes the ball 3 times, I think it's safe to say that he'll likely average more than 1 1/3 yard per carry. He's he is a mobile player. Now, he'll go back and he'll try and throw the football first, but I do think Washington has the defensive line to make him move around a little bit, and I really feel good about that over 5.5. And the other guy that I'm going to take is Austin Eckler. Now, the number is not big. I think it's 21 yards. Krosky Merritt was the fantasy darling and he had the touchdown, he had the one big run, he had 10 yards and 82 carries. But it is not like we're going to all of a sudden see in week 2 that he is going to be a bell cow running back. Eckler does a lot in the receiving game, but I think because of that, they might actually try and catch them off guard with some runs up the middle, taking advantage of the loss of Kenny Clark that we didn't see last week. I'm going to take the over. This is the exclusive right here. I'll just tell you exactly the numbers. Eckler, 21 or more rushing yards. Love, 6 or more rushing yards. And the under 49.5. Right now it's at 48.5. So under 49.5. We've got it up to plus 725. Thank you to Evdog and the boys for getting us a nice little boost. I'm excited about this one tonight.
Yeah, I really am too. I think this could be one of the better Thursday nighters that we see all season long. I think these are 2 teams that a lot of people were very high on, and for good reason. I'm in the same space as you on a couple of those there. With Jordan Love, you're right. He is a way better of a runner than he gets. He's just such a good pocket passer and a guy that likes to stay in the pocket. So he doesn't really get the credit. He doesn't have the big numbers, but it's 5.5 us. Like, he can run the ball once, move the chains. And we've cashed this in literally just one run. I know a lot of people get scared when a quarterback goes up against a good defensive line, and for non-mobile quarterbacks, that could be scary. But I think this is an opportunity with some alternate odds, alternate lines with both these guys. I think you could, if you want to get a little spicy and take both the quarterbacks to maybe get more than what their actual odd is set up at, because I think we're going to see Love take off a little early because he knows the pressure is going to come. And I think Daniel's going to do the exact same thing. So I like both quarterbacks at the over. I really like Love at over 5.5 rushing yards. You like Eckler on the ground. So do I. I also like him through the air. And there's another one that kind of leads into your reasoning: short plays, long drives. Well, they say the extension of the run game are screens, little dump passes, check downs. And I think Daniels is going to be doing a lot of that with Austin Eckler. 23.5 reception yards. He hit this number last week: 3 targets, 3 catches, 30 yards. The Packers also gave up 14 catches to running backs last week against the Lions. So although they didn't get an abundance of yards, I think that Eckler is going to be heavily involved in this game, whether it's on the ground or through the air. The other guy who we haven't mentioned yet, but Zach Ertz, 3.5 receptions. Green Bay, they keep everything in front of them. Again, going into this game plan that I think actually might work. They do not give up those big chunk plays. They didn't give up a single play to the Lions, the chunk, the splash play team of the last couple of years. Not a single play over 20 plus yards. They're okay with allowing little stuff in front, in the middle of the field. So I think that's going to be a lot of options for Zach Ertz, who had the second highest target share last week anyways. So I like Ertz over 3.5 reception. I like those other two props that you mentioned as well. And then, of course, over 3.5 field goals. We're tied. We're 2-2 right now for primetime games.
Robbed on Sunday.
Absolutely criminal.
Robbed on Monday.
We didn't get that. We got robbed for a couple. So we're due. We're due for an over 3.5 field.
Plays
Plus
perfectly
money on
into
that
the
one.
under as well.
It really does. It really does. I think both these teams are going to be taking points early and often.
Quick update for you. Jay's up 4-0. That is nice. I'm on the run line on that one, and Kevin Gossman's playing quite well. Patty, this is going to be fun, folks. If you haven't already, go to the exclusive. Check out the WST one if you want to ride with me. They've got 9 different NFL Daily exclusives with a nice little boost, including, this is a beauty, the Thursday Night Football Super Boost. Josh Jacobs to score a touchdown, boosted to even money. There's a Jordan Love prop, 225 plus in the air, 2 passing TDs and the Packers to win, plus 325. We got the barn burner, each team to score 25 or more. That would be the over. I don't like that one, but if you do, it's plus 350. And a few other ones. And the ladder of the day is Deebo Samuel rushing yards, 20 or more plus 375, 30 or more plus 850, and 16-1 to rush for 40 or more. And Deebo could do that, much like we said, Jordan Love. That could potentially happen in one play. There's some great stuff in the combo cards as well. But if you think there's a lot of stuff in the combo cards today, just wait till we get going tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on Winnipeg Sports Talk with our best bets, our favorite player props, and so much more. 10 a.m. live on WST YouTube tomorrow. And make sure to search WST winners and subscribe to the pod as well if you want to just kick that. And by the way, I guess we're getting this tomorrow, but you've got a big college football date on Saturday. You going to the A&M Notre Dame game?
I am, yes. It's the Notre Dame home opener, and it is a must-win for the Irish. A couple of my buddies and I, big Notre Dame fans, so we're heading down to South Bend. We're leaving tomorrow afternoon. Night game in Notre Dame. I've been to South Bend, actually. I think this is going to be my 8th time, maybe even 9th. I got to go back and look. Never seen a night game, though. It was, so since COVID, they have a lot more prime time games. They got the light show, but it's always been afternoon games for me. The 3:30 kick, or I guess it would be 2:30 kick local time. So I'm excited to get down there, get back to South Bend, first time since COVID, and it's a massive game against A&M.
Yeah, I believe both teams ranked. I think Notre Dame's 8th, A&M's like 16th or something like that.
Yeah,
Notre Dame's
exactly.
6.5 point favorites. Well, listen.
I will say, Huss, normally, when you go to a game, you take the over, you cheer for points. But those two teams with the defense, with the run game, I don't know if I can, in my heart of hearts, do it and take the under. But if I was going to give out a bet for that game, I'd be giving the under, and I'd be giving the over on Love props, because the loss to Miami in week 1 and arguably the best player, not just the best running back in the nation, we didn't even realize he was playing until the second half. That coaching staff does not make the same mistake and not give that guy the ball 20 to 30 times in that game. They're not going to make that mistake again.
If you want the Golden Domers, 6.5 is the number. And again, that is a 6:30 start Winnipeg time Saturday night. I'll watch that one from KC as I get ready for the big Sunday nighter. We'll talk about Chiefs, Eagles, and so much more. Absolutely. Tomorrow, join us at 10 a.m. live on YouTube. Set a reminder. Turn your notifications on. You know how all that works. Patty, great stuff, pal. I look forward to grinding it out tonight after the Thursday nighter and finishing up the official picks and making them tomorrow with you and Jake on WST Winners. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
Go field goals, go.
Yes. Right on. There's Pat Gregoire. Looking forward to firing it up again with he and Jake tomorrow on WST Winners, live at 10 a.m. before our regular episode of WST coming up at 1. And again, if you haven't already played a Coolbet, use that promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And make note that 2 weeks yesterday, so that is the 24th, will be our Wednesday night poker series with Winnipeg Sports Talk getting going again. So if you like online poker, you can play at Coolbet as well, and you can join us for some special tourneys within the community. All right, well, it's been a weird show today. Appreciate everyone that jumped in and that joined us live on X as we had these YouTube issues. I can assure you we'll have this all figured out for tomorrow morning for 10 a.m. WST winners. And then, of course, at 1 p.m. for the regular edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Lots on the Bomber game tomorrow. We'll have Marshall Ferguson. We'll have Jeff Hamilton. We'll also talk some NFL from tonight and get ready for the weekend. And, of course, with the Winnipeg Jets and the Young Stars heading out to Montreal to play in front of those big Bell Center crowds. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Appreciate everybody's patience with the YouTube stream earlier. Figure that out for tomorrow. Fun just doing it on X today. And, of course, for all you podcast listeners as well, thanks for being with us. That is going to do it for us. Busy day tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk. See you at 10 for the NFL show. 1 o'clock here for Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Have a great one. Thanks to all of our guests and you for being with us today.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.